So whenever you're ready, Rosemary.
Well, I'm ready. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We have a very special chat tonight on Talk, Listen, Share, and we're delighted to have a fantastic writer and a great speaker, Lucinda Sue Crosby. And tonight, the topic is prescription laughter, because there's nothing that makes you feel better than a good laugh. So that's what's ahead of us. I will just give it a little announcement and let you know about Shay's Warriors. Shay's Warriors is a 501(c) not-for-profit, all-volunteer board of directors that was formed in the Coachella Valley to help our cancer community thrive after treatment is over. The mission of Shay's Warriors is to inspire, inform, empower through health, fitness, and the mind-body connection. We're here to heal survivors and their families through a national network of support. Talk, Listen, Share community was formed as part of our online outreach to support each other through survivorship and thrivership. Talk, Listen, Share is hosted by our board members every second and fourth Wednesday. And Shay's Warriors is a host. Shay Moraga is a host, our fearless host and founder. Dr. Sonia Fung, naturopathic doctor, is also one of the presenters and the host of Talk, Listen, Share. And my name is Rosemary Flaherty. I'm a retired RN, and I am also a host of Talk, Listen, Share. So what we look forward to the special guest speakers, and we branch out on topics and conversations. It's a forum for honest conversation and many emotional, physical, and social realities that become part of life and moving forward after cancer. You're all part of the success of this group, so speak up and listen and share, and we welcome any comments. So, did you have anything to add to that, Shay?
Yes, tonight after Lucinda Sue is done speaking, we will have question and answers for anyone who would like. If you are already in Facebook land right now and you want to post some of your questions, we'll definitely go back to that afterwards. And I believe we've got a little surprise too, which I will let Lucinda Sue speak to when the time is ready. Again, nothing that we do is something that if you, I don't know what I was going to say.
It's been a long day, hasn't it? You want to add something about our mission?
I'm sorry? Yes, there we go. That must have been like this chemo brain or something like that. Our mission with Shay's Warriors is to empower, inspire, and uplift all women and their families, helping heal in life after cancer through the mind-body connection. If you love our mission, please check us out at shayswarriors.org. We have lots of really cool stuff coming up. We have a lot of events, and everything that we give back to our community is complimentary.
So let's move on to tonight's topic, laughter. And I'm so proud to introduce Lucinda Sue Crosby, who is an Amazon bestselling author and an award-winning journalist, political blogger, environmental activist, a published and recorded Nashville songwriter, and an award-winning commissioned poet. In her younger days, she also enjoyed a career as a Hollywood actress, played pro tennis, and spent several seasons as an in-demand tennis commentator for the WTA Tour. Her first novel, Francesca of Lost Nation, won 6 literary prizes and is an Amazon bestseller. Lucinda also authored 3 other Kindle bestsellers: The Adventures of Baylord Bear, a story about being different, Sell More eBooks, How to Increase Sales, and Amazon Rankings Using Kindle Direct Publishing. And this is one I must read, Why is Pookie Stinky? And co-wrote that.
Those last three, I just insert my cousin and I worked on a lot of this together. Her name's Laura Dobbins. She's in the audience somewhere, just so people know.
So Laura co-wrote some of those with you.
Yes.
And Why is Spooky Stinky is a charming rhyming picture book about a rescued terrier. Her most recent novel and a fan favorite is The Cancer Club, a crazy, sexy, inspirational novel of survival. Fighting breast cancer requires courage, optimism, guts, loving support, faith, and a sense of the absurd. If you survive, reclaiming your life is tougher. Lucinda is a breast cancer survivor and has always used humor to get through the tough stuff in her life. And she's going to demonstrate why laughter is really the best medicine.
Wow. I'm tired. After all the stuff I hear that I've done in my life, I'm kind of tired. I think I'll take a nap and come back to you. That was so kind of you to do that. Now I've written down some notes here, so I'll be referring to this because this is a sort of a new endeavor for me, and I can't tell you how happy I am that you gave me this opportunity. I feel honored, and of course I don't know Cheryl, but I know Shay, and I know Rosemary, and I know Laura. And Shay and Rosemary, they were fellow warriors in our fight, our 100 years war against a son of a bitch called cancer. So I'm very happy to see them. And I guess there's some other people filtering out. And so hello to you all. Good evening. And my name is Lucinda Sue. And I want to start with a question. Is there anything more satisfying than laughing your ass off? That's the first question I have, because I think if you could see me right now, you'd see that I've already laughed my ass off, because it used to be kind of plump, but now it's kind of flat on the backside. And I just think whether it's snorting wine through your nose, which I've done, or I don't know if you ever had that nervous thing at sort of a funeral or a wake where you're not quite sure what to do, and you start laughing or giggling the way Mary Tyler Moore did at Chuckles the Clown's funeral on the Mary Tyler Moore show. I just think that laughter is the chocolate of human emotion. And my sense of humor was shaped by a couple people. My uncle Earl, who was born in Amity, Arkansas in 1904. And he used to have the most colorful ways of expressing himself. And I just made me laugh. And he would say things like, "Why, that's as close as pee on a board." Or he'd say, "Dry as a pea, peeing on cotton." Or he'd say, "A farting dog never tires." And I never quite understood exactly what he was meaning by these things. I only knew that it livened up the conversation, no matter who you were talking to. He was so authentic, and he was vulnerable enough to share real parts of himself in a way that was sort of unusual in that time. It was more usual in Hollywood or places like that. But and of course, my grandmother, Francesca, she was quite a woman. She was born in the 1890s in small town Iowa, and she was a woman ahead of her time. She was a race car driver at county fairs, and she was a pro caliber poker player, and she was the first woman in her county to attend college. And at age 90, she got breast cancer. And she had never smoked or anything, and nobody knew. I guess it was just age at that time. And she underwent a mastectomy, and she was like my best friend. And I didn't know what I could do without her. I mean, it was a very emotional time for me, and a very emotional time for her, because she was the one with the lump in her breast. And she struggled through sort of treatment and recovery. And a few days after surgery, I remember a nurse came and was helping her with her bandages and helping her trying to help her, because my grandmother would just flick her hands away and didn't really want to be touched. And she was a little out of sorts. And finally, she just looked at me and she shook her head and she said, "You know, you go to sleep with two bosoms and you wake up with one. Now that's a hell of a deal." And what could you do with agree with that? So we both laughed quite nicely at that. And then she was also known to use the F-bomb in her 80s. And that shocked my aunt and my mother, but it really made me happy because I felt she would say weird things like she'd say green fucking grass or cold fucking water. She would just use it. I don't know why. And she had all her marbles, believe me. But she just was a funny person and used words and images and phrases in ways that were that made you laugh. You know, if I say the word cancer, most people get that quick flash. I remember when I found the lump, I was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in someone else's bathroom. And I can remember the time of day and the scent of the soap coming off the sink, and the towels were probably, I don't know, I can just remember so many details of it. And I'm sure most of the people who've had this experience in our audience had the same thing. And do you remember when that technician said, "Oh, wait a minute, just let me go over the scan one more time"? You have that one? Or I just remember the words, "You have breast cancer," and it just was like, I don't know, it was like being out there somewhere. It was like being in outer space with, I don't know, it was so surreal. It was like being with Salvador Dali with his mustache. And I don't care who you are, I don't care how strong you are, and I don't care how sane you are. And I'm not the sanest person in the world, and these ladies will attest to that. But getting a cancer diagnosis is a traumatizing experience. It's bad enough that boobs are a hallmark of Western culture. What about their shape or their pertness or their sexiness or their snoggability, as the British say? But getting one's breast mashed in some machine, prickled with needles, pushed, prodded, pinched, poked, cut into, cut off, stretched, and rearranged, all because they're harboring the enemy. I mean, what the hell? Oh my God, it's a terrible experience. It is traumatic. And I just remember the week I got my diagnosis, I got a bunch of Wanda Sykes routines, solo acts, whatever you want to say. And Wanda Sykes live, and she uses the word fuck, and she is very political, but she's so funny because what she says is so true. And it made me, I just laughed and laughed and laughed. And I'm telling you, for me, the trauma moved away just a little bit when I laughed, and I could actually see out through it a little bit better than I could when I was just sitting with my own thoughts. For me, sitting with my own thoughts was really, it was horrible, because there was like that, that thing there, that openness, that cave, and there was the void. And I was filling the void with stuff that never happened. And laughter just sort of helped. Like if you have a problem right up here, it's very hard to fix it when you can't. But if you put it out here a little bit, you can sort of turn it around, look at it. And that's what laughter does for me. I recently learned, and I didn't know this before, as I was doing some research for this little project that you very kindly gave to me, that one of the symptoms of PTSD or any kind of other anxiety problem is an inability to laugh. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I think that's fascinating. And you think about it for a second, because humor depends on vulnerability. The storyteller and the listener are sharing some kind of absurdity based on some kind of large or small disaster, like teenage acne maybe, or your first sexual experience. For most people, I know that's a laughing storm. And much of my sisters, I have a sister, and much of her life it's been like the perils of Pauline. And I mean, she's had so many disasters. It's like, I don't understand how she could still be a person. She can still be alive in the world, because she once got run over by a cow. I know this doesn't sound terrible, but when in their place in Montana, she was taking care of, I don't know, they put some cows in with the horses, and then the cows didn't want to be there. So when she came and was trying to open the gate to get the food in, they rushed the gate. When I say rush the gate, they were kind of, one step at a time. I mean, but they're big, and they were pushing on her, and they pushed her back, and they stepped right on her, and she had like hematomas. It was terrible. So whatever you do, never get stepped on by a cow because it's pretty disastrous. And she once took an unfamiliar shortcut, ended up driving over a boulder. That's with her friend Laura, and they go fishing all the time. And they just have these things where she broke her ankle. I mean, everything happens to her. And she also bought a 23-foot toy hauler and discovered she couldn't pull it with the truck she had bought for the truck for the. So I mean, it's like this is what happens to her all the time. And I hate to say this, I hate to admit it, but after a time, when she is off the phone with Laura telling the nearest disaster, oh, my house caught on fire. Oh, I have the wrong insurance. My dogs, I sent them to school to learn to behave, and every time I open the door, they take off and they run for like a mile, and I have to run and get them back. I mean, this is my sister. So let's just say, I know I feel guilty about it, but Laura and I are looking at each other and she's telling me the story, and I just go to pieces. So lots of your siblings and some of your family, it's hard to get people to share that kind of detail, especially when it's not making you look so good. And I feel guilty, but it just makes me laugh. So I'm throwing that out there, and you have to get with people who are willing to share the tough stuff. Because it's laughter can help that tough stuff, and it can take those edges and kind of just soften them a little bit, make them easier to tug along as you lug your way through life. And I am where am I? Okay, so as many of you also know, there's so much stuff on the World Wide Web right now, and it seems like people are really sharing everything. But if you look at what they're sharing, a lot of it is hyped up, and a lot of it is for the consumer and not for the person that's actually telling the story. So it's actually geared to the listener to get whatever kind of response they want to get, right? And it's not really geared to the person who's unburdening. And fun in any form is an intimate exchange of painful information that is revealed to an audience. So even with our coworkers or the people in our family, if there's like something about death just hovering in the background, it can alter the way people share what they're, because a lot of people would just rather be positive and not go into it. But if you have that opportunity, it gets to a point where you can actually laugh at it. And then again, you take that feeling, you just push it aside a little bit. It's a very freeing thing. Of course, the single biggest predictor of death is life. I mean, we're all dying because we're all living. So even the word cancer. You couldn't even say it in polite company 10, 15 years ago, cancer. It bounces around, it's exaggerating fear. And death is kind of a squirmy concept, and it can be funny. Again, I reference a funeral for a clown, Mary Tyler Moore, and I also think about other than that, how did you like to play Mrs. Lincoln? Death it's there, and, it's part of the fodder for a really funny evening of sharing. Okay, and this is something else I found out. Interestingly, comedians are prone to psychosis. I wonder, is that why they spend their lives trying to make other people laugh? Because they can't. That blew my mind. Anyway, in the book, The Body Keeps the Score, there's a trauma expert, Bessel van der Kolk. I'm not kidding you, that's his real name. Bessel van der Kolk explains that most trauma victims try to control their physical and emotional environment because they think that hypervigilance will somehow tamp down the images of pain and fear that are trapped in the brain, right? As many of you already know, this hyper awareness takes huge amounts of energy to maintain. It's like juggling 7 plates, and they're all in the air all the time. And you just have to be aware of every single thing that's going, every single thing. And I know someone named Shay that sort of does this. I mean, she's taken on so much. Don't get me wrong, she handles it better than I ever have. But I just noticed in other people that, that thing about, really, 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 really being busy and trying to keep everything in the air. But sometimes it's sort of good to let go a little bit and let a plate break. Just let it drop and throw it into the fireplace and have a good time with it and enjoy it. Because I know from personal experience about trauma and all the things I did in my life to escape from the feelings of it, the pain of it. And let's just say I had a Dickensian childhood without the orphanage. I did come from money. It's a good thing because that'll pay for treatment and a housekeeper. Very important. And this Dickensian childhood pretty much ensured that I had malfunction of certain types of, in adult relationships and situations. And I suffered from PTSD since age 13, and I've had depression and anxiety. I mean, sometimes people just don't want to sit next to me. I don't know why, but they didn't want to sit next to me. And I had to develop a better coping mechanism, and usually something that was not appropriate. The less appropriate, the better, in my opinion. In 2016, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I had a double mastectomy. And this is what they gave me in return. That was nice. They come in many. I don't have any boobs. Now, oh, am I there? Oh, there we go. Okay. So basically, if a man has man boobs, why can he walk down Santa Monica Beach when I have no breasts at all and I can't go down there? I have to wear a swimsuit. This does not make sense to me. If a man has man boobs, shouldn't he be wearing a swimsuit top at Santa Monica Beach? I should test this theory out. If I could get some people to go down there with me, all of us with no breasts, the flat look, right? And take all our tops off, I wonder if we'd get arrested or not. Because if I don't have no boobs, then why can't I just walk down without a shirt? It makes sense to me. Okay. Now, to top everything off, which is something that I don't think the hosts know this, but I've also had a recent Parkinson's diagnosis. Ta-da! You might be saying, holy crap, about now. I mean, why in the world is this poor woman giving a speech about humor? But I say to you, who else better than me? I'm an expert on suffering and stuff like that. And I went through my life, and this laughing has really, it's been a godsend. So, and I do have one other thing to say about that. All I can say is never ask how much worse can it get, because you'll find out. Don't ask that question. The fates will answer you. Okay. So the crying towel is now on the deck, apparently. Don't give it to me yet, because I've had and I'm still having a really great life with lots of success and loving friends and fantastic people that gave me gifts of strength and courage and laughter. So I think the thing that laughter's also contributed to is my ability to bounce back. It's called cognitive resilience. And I guess in college, I realized that magic mushrooms probably weren't the most appropriate way to deal with unresolved pain. Okay, and there's a few other things I tried. Picture me, okay? Self-medication, that was number one, because I was looking for an answer. Why was I having all these problems? And this is before the cancer, but the cancer only contributes to it, right? So, so why am I've got let's see, self-medication, prayer, Tai Chi, hypnosis, a brief brush with a cult. That was interesting, quite expensive, by the way. I wouldn't recommend it. Meditation, brain training, reframing, which is something that Rosemary's, and we talked about that a lot. That's a really good one. Antidepressants, those are the magic mushrooms prescribed by a doctor, right? And positive thinking. and anti-anxiety meds, and most of these were helpful. And I do recommend counseling with an expert because it really can help. And as a matter of fact, when you're born, you should just have like a telephone number of a counselor just tattooed on your hand. And when you reach, I don't know, puberty or 10 years old, whichever comes first, dial that fucking number and talk to that therapist to say, I'm fucked up. My parents really screwed. So can you help me? And you know what? She'll probably say yes. And she probably will help you. That's a great thing, huh? And all of these coping mechanisms, they provided relief. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do them. They provided, sometimes for a day or even for years. But once my brain was scrambled, it's never going to go back to the way it worked before. And once you have cancer or you have chemo, your brain and yourself, it's never going to go back to the way you were. But it could be something else. It could be something else. I don't know. Maybe it. And I still get panic attacks and anxiety because the pain and the anger I feel is not out there somewhere. It's me. And I need to love me. I need to love me. I need to say, I am gorgeous. I am breastless. I am fantastic. And that is something that it's taken me a long time to come to terms with. And actually, the cancer just brought that right here. See that? That's what the cancer did. It took my focus about that part of my life that I had never made peace with. That I still had that anxiety, that I wasn't strong enough to get through it or bounce through it or get away with it. And all that performance anxiety, and I'd go on auditions and I'd sweat and do all this stuff, right? And now I look back in it, and that cancer really brought all that into focus, and it actually helped. I hate to admit it, but it did. And so the arts have been really helpful. Writing a lot of these experiences down, and the cancer, because I did the cancer book and stuff, and it really is helpful to write it or sing it or dance it or whatever. And I've released tension watching really great characters that I'm interested in face some jeopardy, and then the dark passenger that comes to say, you can't do this, you can't do this, and that dark passenger is there. And I think that I recommend Psychotic Crime Solvers, Dexter and Luther. Dexter's back on for another season, and he's a guy that he's a serial killer, but he only kills the bad guys. It's fantastic. And Luther is Idris Elba at his best. And you think you can't laugh at a psychotic, but apparently you can, because I recommend it highly. Okay. Life may or may not be a series of catastrophes sandwiched between moments of glory and love and all that stuff. But when I'm laughing, I don't really give a damn. That's the truth. An entertainment icon, Gary Marshall, used to say tragedy plus time equals comedy. And so you can look back and say, oh my God, wow. I want to talk a little bit about the science of laughter, because it's proven therapeutic benefits. These things have been studied a lot, and they've been studied all over the world. And here's what I've found with the help of actually Rosemary. She gave me some great information as well. Laughter shuts down stress hormones. It triggers dopamine production. It builds lung capacity and abdomen muscle and exercises most of the body's other muscles. It enhances oxygen intake. It increases the number and efficiency of disease-fighting cells and stimulates immunity. It enhances peptides associated with hope, joy, and optimism, because we got these peptides, and these things, they're little things on the cells, and they're little receptors for all the different emotions that we have. And the brain is going to send out, if you have a lot of fear cells, you're going to have a lot of fear from your brain. So that laughter, it's going to take what you're feeling, and it's going to put some fantastic peptides in there that are peppy and happy and cute and funny, and it's going to make you feel great, trust me. It releases tension and animosity. Not that I've ever had any animosity to any of these things I'm talking about, because I certainly did. And the ability to examine problems from a distance, and believe me, no drug can do that. No drug. And it's free. Laughter's free. Fantastic. All right. I'm not saying we shouldn't cry and scream. and raised. There are moments when hurling curses into the universe. God damn it! Why are you doing this to me? Like that guy did in the movie with Tom Hanks. Come on, God, do your worst. Why are you doing this to me? You son of a bitch! Come on. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. By all means, the universe is the hurling curses into the universe might be the only appropriate thing you do in a whole day. By all means, meditate, deep breathe, take up Zen, drink that horrible green tasting smoothie that everybody's into, and try some kale in there. I don't know who thought of that. Be more earnest, be more aware, be less Velcro, make peace and forgive whomever for whatever. Hey, listen, and I can put some more stuff, I'm telling you, I can put some more stuff on your daily calendar if you want me to, because I have tried it all and done it all. And what I'm saying is, while our psyches and our bodies and getting them in order is really vital, so is having a belly laugh. I mean, life isn't fair, but it is absurd. And I can bring that to me and to you. And I think if anybody might want to, I have some little vignettes I can talk about, but I'm wondering if there might be other people that might want to share or ask a question. It's up to you guys what I do next. I do have, like I said, I do have some funny stories about my cancer, but there might be other people, egging to get in or not. Maybe they've all run out the door, but let's find out. What do you want to do, Shay, my girl?
Rosemary, Rosemary is really the host. I'm having some big belly laughs you guys didn't hear because I have this nice echo in the background, but I'm enjoying this because you're right. Laughter does automatically raise like our consciousness and keeps us above the line. Like we do feel good when we have these huge belly laughs. There's nothing like getting together with a bunch of your girlfriends or saying the F-bomb just to like have that huge belly laugh.
I was thinking about it. It is laughter is, I think is there anybody in this audience, any woman that hasn't laughed till they peed? I know I have, and it hasn't been that long ago either. And it's so embarrassing. You're running to the bathroom and wait, what did you say? Wait. Yeah. So and laughter is what a gift.
I'll admit it. Yep. Done. Did that.
Laughter is.
Let's be real here, people.
I think that funny people are an amazing gift to mankind, because what would we do without people that can guide us to laugh and kind of teach us how to laugh and give us the power to laugh at stuff that's not laughable.
I have a friend named Gary Mule Deer. He's one of my best friends in the world. And he starts out his show a long time as Gary Mule Deer. Yes, I did change my name. It used to be Anita Mule Deer. And he will do, he will say funny things like that. He'll say like one good turn gets all the covers, or he'll say that my mom's food was so bad all the flies chipped in and bought her a screen door. And he has funny little things that are just I was trying to there's he'd say my grandfather was a veterinarian and a taxidermist. I know what you're thinking, but no matter what, you got your dog back. So it's like, and it can be like, and I have some stuff that I've written. It's like, okay. And I said this to Shay earlier. Men go through a difficult stage somewhere between 9 and death. And I mean, that's funny. And it's true because that's what it is. There's that little thing of truth in it, right? That makes it. And also usually it's not good. You're not aggrandizing someone, quite the opposite. You're taking it, only it's done in a way that doesn't make the person hurt. It's an art form, in my opinion. It's total art form.
It is an art form. And I related because when I lived in Los Angeles, when I was in my 20s, like going to nursing school and getting my first job, my roommate, for some reason, started dating like a sitcom star at the time. And so that involved sitting around a room with a bunch of comedians many times when we would go out. And it was crazy because they would be saying the most hysterical things. Not one of them laughed. The only thing they would do is say, "That's funny." And they would look at me and, you know, a couple of other people that were, when we were laughing, it was kind of when people like they were insulted that we were laughing at them. It was the weirdest thing in the world, but all they
That's
would do,
what but that's why, I mean, that whole thing about the psychosis and everything. I mean, if you look at Robin Williams, there's so, and I mean, I knew a lot. I mean, I went to acting class with them where you learn a lot about people. I did, you know, films with these people, and it's just, and it's funny because they don't laugh, but they know what's funny, and I mean, to get another person to laugh, that's all they don't, the money is, it's all secondary. If you can get that person to laugh, that's what they want more than anything. Anyway, so is there, if you want me to, I have a couple of funny things that I'd like to tell you about. After I got
question, Lucinda, we do have
go ahead.
We have one question she wanted to ask real quick.
Okay.
Angela wants to know, what are the psychological effects or changes in the body from laughter?
Well, laughter, again, it is something that increases the oxygen in your blood, and it makes, and also you can't control it. It's, if you've ever tried to stop laughing at a certain point when you know you shouldn't be laughing, you'll know that you're out of control when you're laughing. So it's really, the idea that it's free, that you cannot control it, that it's controlling you. And usually most people don't laugh, or they plan to laugh, or no, it comes like, it's spontaneous. So what it does is for me also, it clears out my sinuses and it just, I don't know, it makes me feel tall. And so, and all those things like Rosemary was talking about, all those things, they're just good for you. You know, there's the peptides and the additional oxygen in your system, and the letting go is the big thing. It's letting go, and it's freeing, and it's fluid, and it's not in your control, baby. You can stop crying, but you can't stop laughing. Nope.
And we've talked a lot in Shay's Warriors about the benefits of breathing. When you laugh, you are breathing deeply. And as you said, you intake more oxygen, but you're using all of these great muscles in your chest and in your whole body and in your abdomen.
And don't forget the dopamine production. That's a big deal, because dopamine is it's the thing that gives us well-being. So that's a big thing. And a lot of this, like I said, you sent some stuff to me, and a lot of this I didn't know before, you know, I put some information together. I found that quite fascinating, actually.
Yeah, it is, because neurotransmitters are where everything is. I mean, it's just like neurotransmitters are just it. And if you can manipulate them with something as simple as laughter, with breathing, with exercise, it's well worth it. Because like you said, you know, we have the power to do these things. It's all free. But one point that you brought up, I thought was really cool, is that after you laugh at a tragedy, that, you know, that description, that feeling of like you've just moved the fog a little bit and you can see. And that really hit me about, yeah, that is so much what laughter does. It displaces, it takes you in a different place. It might set you beside this issue a little bit, or looking through the darkness into seeing a lighter space. It does, it changes perspective so much. And many times after the laughter, it changes it for a prolonged period of time.
And the guiltier you feel at what you're laughing at, the better, the more it's affecting you in a positive manner. I'm serious. Oh, I should never, my aunt, you know, Frida, oh my God, why am I can't stop, you know, that feeling of, and if you feel really guilty about your laughter, you really needed that laugh. That's what I think. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead.
One more question.
Okay.
Sounds good. Really good ones now.
I like it. Bring it on.
Laura had one of their members have asked, they're curious what the men on the chat think, since most of the humor is surrounding breast cancer and is about our boobs and sexuality. And I think, Jason, I saw you kind of raise your hand a little bit. I think you had something to add too.
Well, it wasn't on that, but I do have a question for you, Lucinda, and that is, what made you want to write your first book?
Wow. Okay. I fell in love with the written word when I was 3 years old because I taught myself how to read. My mother we had this book called Eloise,
Mm-hmm.
a little girl who lives at a hotel in New York City. And I read it so often that I memorized it. So I would pretend to read it. And I'd say, the little girl lived in a hotel in New York City, the park, the plaza. And I'd do that. And then one day I realized that sound in the little girl, what that looked like was what I was saying was attached to that thing on the page. And so that I fell in love with words, and I've written everything, magazine articles and song lyrics and
Awesome.
movies, and you can't imagine. I mean, I was an investigative reporter. I've written California water law. I have written and written and written, and the books. The first book was inspired by my grandmother, who is Francesca of Lost Nation. It's called, and she is the lead character in the book. And a lot of the stuff in the book about her is the real woman, because she was like I said, she pro caliber poker player and went to college, and she was a race car driver at county fairs and never lost a dirt track race in her whole life. And I mean, a lot of it is fiction, but a lot of it's true. So it's basically I just couldn't help myself. I had to put words down on the paper, so I did.
Very cool. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Are you there, Rosemary?
I am.
Hello.
I'm here. We can hear you, Lucinda.
There you are. Okay.
I changed my computer around a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song lyric that you wrote?
I really like Bridge Over Troubled Water. I love Simon and Garfunkel. It's maybe one of my best, my favorite. I've got 3 or 4 favorite albums. I can just listen to that over and over again. And the beauty of the melody as is sung by Art Garfunkel, it's amazing. But the words are so, a bridge over troubled water. We all need a safe place to fall. We need a safe place to fail. We need a safe place to be vulnerable. And a lot of us don't have that in our lives. And that song talks about that.
Do you have a favorite lyric that you wrote?
Do I have what?
Do you have a favorite lyric that you wrote?
Oh, wow.
That might be.
I
realize that's an unfair question.
Because I've written about 100 songs. I had 11 album cuts, a movie song, and a documentary song. Wow. And it would be very hard. Well, let's see. Let me think for just a second. I can't, right off I'm not coming up with anything.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But I have, if you go to my website, luckycinda.com, I have lyrics there. So, and songs. You can hear the songs at luckycinda.com. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Are we having, I feel like we're having a bit of a, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you have a little, your network bandwidth is a little low is what it says.
Okay.
The miraculous power of the internet, right?
Yes.
There was one question that let me just get back to. It was a question, the audience member says they're curious of what a few of the men on this chat think. since most of the humor surrounding breast cancer is about our boobs, sexuality. What are the men thinking? I think Nathan and Jason, you guys are both on.
All right, I can speak for all men. Since we're the only two, right, Chase? Well, I'll speak for no. I think that humor in general, I think guys use humor a lot just in dealing with each other and messing with each other. So I think that humor is something that's natural. Maybe not guys are funny, but they naturally kind of, it's how we interact with each other in a lot of ways. I think what humor does is it takes the power away from something. So if something is so serious to talk about, like cancer, obviously you never want to joke about that because you don't want to offend the person. But once you get the person to laugh or bring any levity to the situation, it takes away that power to overcome the person. So I think that's maybe some power. And as far as joking about boobs, and I think we've been doing that since we were about 6 years or maybe 8 years old, once we knew that girls had them and we didn't. So unless the man boobs, like Lucinda said, you know.
Okay, Nathan, I have a question for you. Do you think a person who's had a woman who's had a mastectomy should be able to walk down the beach topless? What do you think? You're a man. What do you think?
Haha.
Haha.
I think in rights, I suppose they can, but I think that would be
Uncomfortable?
yeah, probably an uncomfortable thing. Yes. I mean, it would probably be
Exactly.
uncomfortable if they didn't have a mastectomy and walked down topless. I know in some nations they can. So there's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with the human body. So I guess it'd be a beautiful thing. It would just be a shock initially, I think.
Well, like I say, I've been thinking about this for a couple of years. Maybe one of these days I'll get up a little courage and wander on down to Santa Monica and see what happens.
Well,
Get arrested. That'd be kind of fun. Actually, I might enjoy that. Okay.
plenty of interesting things going on in Santa Monica if you've been down there. So I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that there is a group of Flahertys who go to, they were at the last Pain El Paseo Pink that we were at, and they took off their shirts and ran for a block and then put them back on. And they, waved their shirts, and they just seemed like they felt incredibly free in doing that. So it has been done. Nobody arrested them.
Good.
Yeah, it is definitely something that I think every individual has maybe some feelings about, because in regards to what you're talking about, Rosemary, there were some young children that were there, and that was very traumatic for those young children. They cried, they didn't understand, and rightfully so. I mean, here we are as women going through breast cancer. Some of us have lumpectomies, mastectomies, whatever it might be. And we don't understand why we're going through it. Think of how we're talking trauma to a young child who might see someone, a woman, or a man walking by with scars or whatever it is. And it is a beautiful.
Or one leg. Or one arm.
Right. I mean, to be in the moment during that thing, maybe that parent wasn't ready to talk to their child about what was going on. So I think those are things that they're definitely eye-opening. There's this beautiful body positivity that people talk about and think, but I also think as a society, and this is my personal opinion, there is a time and a place to where this happens. And all of us are in our journey where we've accepted it, and it is laughter, and it can be fun, and it can be very beautiful. But then also looking at our surroundings, that what we do might affect others too. And that's just in anything right now. And sometimes that, for me, when going through the cancer, that was hard to laugh at, because I didn't necessarily want to have that conversation with my daughter at the time, or, whatever it is, when I lost my hair, I lost that. But and to think of those young parents where they saw this happen, it was again, I don't have any preference what it was, but for me, I felt bad for the families because now they're forced into talking about something that maybe they might not have wanted to talk about just yet.
For me, I totally get what you're saying. However, I mean, you wouldn't stop a soldier from wearing his metal leg and being in a group like that. And I'm sure that is something that has never been discussed in those families either. So for me, why is it different? And I understand that it is. I totally get what you're saying, but now that I've gone through the journey, I kind of wonder, it's a scar from battle, just like other battle scars. It's from warriors that went through the process, warriors like us. There's a lot of people out there, warriors, and they went through that battle and they have their scars and they should be proud of them scars. That's what I think. I get what you're saying. It's, I don't know how you balance it out, but you know, if I can wear my metal leg, then I can wear I can show my scar up here. My bosom, is my grandmother used to say, a bosom scar. She used to talk about how it made her kind of feel tilty because she only had one, right? So she was so funny. Wonderful woman. Tilty. I'm feeling tilty today. I don't know. My breast is something.
And another thing that you mentioned is the ability to laugh during tragedies. And sometimes we see this. I think that we're seeing it a lot right now in entertainment because so many things are incredibly graphic and there's so much violence in films. And then you have somebody like Quentin Tarantino that somehow can manage to make you laugh as you're seeing something in front of you act out that's like, why am I laughing at this person getting killed or this person getting beat up? And you see it a lot in the superhero films. It was like, we watched Suicide Squad last night, right? And insanely violent. People just get ripped apart left and right, but somehow they manage to make you laugh at all of this this heinous stuff that's going on in front of you. So that's something that's always intrigued me, because I mean, Quentin Tarantino to me is somebody that can make me laugh and disgust me so profoundly at the same time. And I leave the theater usually thinking, it was a great film, you know? So I think there's something to that, in that it's somehow guiding us personally to be able to laugh through tragedy, but it's just one of those weird things.
Well, it's funny. Comedians are prone to psychosis. It's like people who are psychotic can't laugh. I mean, there's something going on in that syndrome that I'm going to write a book about and do some research. No, I'm really not going to do that, but it's interesting to me. Yes, it is. Oh, I do have some resources I wanted to give before we stop. Some things that I find funny that might not be on the main track, like not as famous as Tarantino, for example. And these are TV episodes. They're Cheers and episodes starring Mott LeBlanc. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's hilarious. Everybody Loves Raymond, Frasier, and Mrs. Maisel. And these are, they're laugh out loud funny. And my friend Gary Muledeer, you can find him on YouTube. The Carol Burnett Show. Remember when she took the curtains out of the window and she was like doing Gone with the Wind? And she said, "Oh, I saw these in the window. I just had to have it." I mean, that was such a great laugh. The Graham Norton Show, which is a British talk show, they're hilarious. Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, the reruns. The Great Depression. This is fantastic. It's a comedy. It's a comedian named Gary Goldman, and he's actually had electric shock treatment. And he says, yeah, they changed the name from electric shock treatment to electric convulsive treatment. Now, did that make it more applicable? Did that make it more appetizing to people? You know, it's like, and he talks about, and I have had this experience also of some, you know, there are things that you go through in cancer or whatever, or as he says, he's like crazy. And you get constipated because of all the different drugs or whatever you're taking. And so, and this is something I thought, whoever thought the shape of a Tootsie Roll was a good idea for a snack food? I don't get that. But anyway, that's so fun. I don't know. Okay. So the Great Depression, Richard Pryor language, but hilarious. Wanda Sykes, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Comedians. And I got 3 films. Bringing Up Baby, Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. Cary Grant, I actually knew him. He was a friend of mine. My Favorite Year, starring Peter O'Toole, and Silver Linings Playbook, which pretty much explains how I live and how I think. And anything that has to do with animals, funny. I mean, animal videos are great. And also when you drive, instead of putting the news or music on, try putting the comedy channel on. It's really helpful. That's all. That's my resources.
And a great list. We've watched episodes, the entire series, twice.
It's fantastic. The Brits are so good at that kind of comedy anyway. Also, there's one called Last Tango in Halifax. It's pretty good. It's not Last Tango in Paris for sure. It's very funny. I like it.
Yeah. Were there any other questions?
We haven't talked about your, I mean, we've got to talk about some of these quotes in your book.
Okay. Where are you looking, my darling?
Well, of course, my head goes to sex isn't a federal crime. Well, not yet anyway. This is the Reagan-Bush Supreme Court. You'll probably change all that.
Yeah, because it gave me an opportunity to say a lot of stuff because through anger or sarcasm or inappropriate whatever. And Marley she's that kind of person anyway. And then facing this thing and going through it and losing her hair and all that, looking at herself in the mirror. That's when I said, you know, sometimes I'm just not a person people want to sit next to. And hello, that's just it. And I think there's a lot of stuff in here that there's a lot of us that actually feel it, but we never say it or admit it. But I appreciate that you brought that up. That was really nice. I'm going to give one of these away to someone who wants it, right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
So someone, I don't know how you're going to run this. If you have I don't know how to run it, but somebody should, and I'll send a signed copy to them if they want, if they want it. If not, that's okay too.
You guys keep talking. I'm going to grab my pen just went, and we're going to do a live drawing right before the end. So go ahead.
Okay.
I've been reading it this week, and I just finished. I was in between 2 books that were just not pleasant and not that well written and not that sharp, and I needed a break. So I've had the book for a while. I just literally found it, and I started reading it. And it was such a pleasure to read something that was so engaging. And you're a really good writer.
Thank you.
You're a really good writer, and so I appreciate a book that's well written. And it's just it's a snap to get through because you don't want to put it down. And
thank you.
And the truth in it, you can see you. I saw
it's
you.
real, of all the characters I've ever written, I think this is the most me. I think this is so me and how I deal with stuff. And yeah, it's basically, and also something about Marley, she sticks with it. She's intelligent. It's so nice to see an intelligent protagonist who's a female. I just love that. She's really smart. And but she's not so smart about human relationships, and that's what we discover is upending her as she's fighting this cancer thing. It's bad enough to have my relatives, but now I have cancer and my relatives. This couldn't get much worse, And remember, don't ask the fates how much worse can it get, because they might tell you, and you don't want to do that. So there's Shay. Anyway.
I'm writing.
And a lot of those places are actually built. Go ahead.
I'm writing everyone's names down. Keep talking.
Okay, let's see what's back here. Here's a blurb about it, the book. On the backside of bald, exhaustion, and eternal nausea, writer Marley Mitchell plans a healing journey to tropical climes with loving friends in search of peace. Instead, she encounters a universe in ashes, ex-lovers, and an adversarial half-sister horn in inconveniently and constantly, while her parents' rock-solid marriage quivers under its own stress. Thank God for the angels of mercy, albeit with tart tongues and scathing truths Marley calls the Cancer Club, who share alike their pain, fear, loving strength, and unconditional support in a way only fellow sufferers can. And those were my friends in the Cancer Club that I went to at Eisenhower Hospital, and I won't say their names because it's private, but I can admit that I go there. Yep, I sure do. I haven't been there for a while, but been busy.
So, Lucinda, do you still follow the women's tennis?
I love tennis. I had a job here. It was until I got the Parkinson's diagnosis, I was actually a director of tennis in Palm Desert at a club. I was there for like 7 years. I was also writing for magazines and doing other stuff. I'm actually, I love the women's game right now. There's so many, there's so many people bubbling up right now. I think that in the next 3 or 4 years, and I don't think you're going to have someone dominate. I just think the women's game used to be people, Steffi Graf would be the one, or, Chris would be the one, or whoever. And I just think it's amazing that they're so talented. And Coco, and there's, what was the one today? I just saw her. And the Americans are doing great.
Yeah,
so what about you? Do you follow women's tennis?
I do. I used to be a huge tennis fan, but I still follow a little bit now, and it's the Americans that are coming up. Men and women, I think, are still strong, but I think I'm a big golf fan. But I think the world stage is, the athletes are so world now. It's like it used to be American dominated a lot of these kind of sports, but I think the world's kind of caught up in a lot of regards. But it's a very competitive landscape. It's fun to watch. For sure.
It is fun. I also am a big fan of Novak Djokovic. Yeah, and I got to interview him about 3 years ago, and people know he has a fantastic sense of humor, and he's very he doesn't brag about himself. He's very self-effacing. He's a really fun guy. I found him when I was doing the commentary for tennis tournaments in Europe. I first saw him when he was like 18 or 19 years old, and I said, "Oh my God, this guy has everything, but he's nuts. He's a freak. He'll break 17 rackets in one tournament. He couldn't get a hold of himself that way. And now look at him. He is so talented. Wow. And he's still breaking his darn rackets.
I think with the Olympics, I think he lost, but if he's going to win the Olympics, I think he'd be the first time ever to hold like the Grand Slam plus the Olympic crown.
Right.
One time. That would have been something.
He's dumb. He does these things. It's like, oh, let's get 3 golds. No, you're going to be so tired. You're going to be so worn out. You don't want to hurt yourself before the U.S. Open. I could actually see maybe the men's singles, maybe, but sometimes he just gets ahead of himself. He does have, and it's interesting because he had these big plans for himself, but he's actually done it quite well. And he's the only champion I know of that ever had to suffer through a bunch of bullets and a war. He lived through that war with bullets flying and everything. And, Rafa and Roger, they were upper middle class. This guy was like, he had a hard time. So I get it. He has PTSD. He should see that. He should follow that little phone number on his hand and call. He does get therapy. Thank God, because God only knows what happened if he didn't.
So I wonder, is he a spokesperson?
Okay, Shay, are you ready?
Yes, I have.
I'm looking at her. Anyway, do you play tennis?
I don't. I'm a golfer, but when I was younger I played a little bit, but not seriously. But I'm
Ah,
a much better golfer. But
well,
I
golf is a good way to go nuts. You know that, right? It's a psychosis of its own.
true. It's my therapy though.
All right, you tell me when, Lucinda. I'm mixing them up. Everyone's
When?
on
When?
platforms are on here. You tell me when and what to pick.
When?
Okay, here we go.
When?
Annette, you are the winner of the Cancer Club, and it will be signed, sealed, and delivered. I will reach out to you. Annette was watching live tonight from our Instagram feed, and so I will reach out to you. I'll DM you, get your information, and make sure we get your address and everything so we can get you your signed copy.
Yoo-hoo! Congratulations, Annette. Yay. I hope she likes it. Hope she laughs her ass off because then, clothes fit so much better. I don't know. Now I have no boobs and I have no ass. I mean, what's left? That's what I want to know. The best part of me is left. That's what I say.
I love it.
Okay. Well, I think that concludes tonight. Thank you so much, Lucinda. It's just been delightful to see you and to listen to you and to laugh with you.
Thanks for the invitation. And Jason, hey, if I get my golf game going, I'll give you a call, buddy. No problems.
All right.
But I really thank you. It was an honor. I really think the work you did is great. You're doing is fantastic. And I'm hoping, even if it's not my information, the information you give goes out there. I think it just helps. It helps so much because you're trying to get yourself back and your sexuality back and your balance back. And it's not an easy thing to do. You need all the help you can get. So thank you for your work and thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And if somebody wants to get your book, Lucinda, they can go to luckycinda.com or they can order this still on Amazon. Is that
Amazon.
right?
Yep, it's on Amazon. Yes, indeed. That's the best place to go.
And we'll put that up on our Stay as Warriors site too, on our YouTube video. It'll be up there in a little bit over a week. We thank you so much. It was great to see you again and just great to be able to share some laughter and all of that. Our next talk list and share, Dr. Fung, I'm going to ask you because I just, hello.
Hi, sorry, I was late.
We're not calling you out. It's all good. Laugh about it.
Exactly.
The next talk, listen, and share is at the end of this month on
It'll be on the 24th.
24th about aromatherapy.
The topic is going to be the safe use of essential oils after cancer treatment.
Yeah, awesome.
And Catherine Copen will be the presenter.
Great.
Yay.
All right, everyone. Well, have a great night. Lucinda Sue, thank you again so very much.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Your week.
Great seeing you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.